We go now on to Shashwati Nath, the next presenter. Shashwati Nath is today speaking about eating disorder. She has been interested in Jyotish, yoga, and Ayurveda since her teenage years. Currently, she is in PJC, that is Parashara Jyotish course, and Jaimini Sutra program, year 2, studying under the guidance of the Parampara. Let's welcome Shashwati Nath.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay. Namaste, everyone. First, I want to take a moment and express my reverence and my gratitude to the Jyotish Parampara of Sri Achyuta Das and to our respected Guruji, Pandit Sanjay Rath, and Gurvi Sarbani Rath for showing the path to this very high knowledge. And pay my respect to the Jyotish Gurus of the Parampara who are guiding us along the way, Gurvi Satsiri and Branka, and Guruji Mark and Jelko. We will say the Guru Mantra once. Om Gurave Namah. Okay. The topic for this hour is eating disorders. We will discuss 6 Jyotish principles to find these in the charts, look at some case studies, and mention a few remedies. So let's start with a brief introduction. There are 2 primary types of eating disorders, anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. But there are other variations as well. Anorexia is a type of wasting disease or kshaya roga, which could be side effects of serious diseases like cancer and AIDS. But in the context of eating disorders, it involves self-inflicted starvation with the purpose of losing weight. And bulimia is quite the opposite. It's compulsive emotional eating followed by purging, either vomiting or using laxatives. And that's also for the sole purpose of not gaining any weight from the eating binges. There is also an element of BDD or body dysmorphic disorder when there is an obsession with a flaw in the body, and that can sometimes be delusional. Sometimes the flaw may exist, but it's over-exaggerated. Now, this is a mental health behavioral disorder. Depression is a common theme. And for today's presentation, we will look at eating disorders as a whole. We won't try to distinguish between anorexia and bulimia, because often there is a mix of anorexia, bulimia, and BDD. Like there is periods of bulimia followed by anorexia and vice versa. So with that, we look at the first principle. This is Yama Bandhana of the 2nd and the 12th house. So when we examine a chart for eating disorder, the first step is to look at the 2nd house, the 2nd lord, and the karaka of the 2nd house, because the 2nd house is food. But this principle is saying that we need to look at the 2nd and the 12th as a pair, because 2nd house is, food, eating, nutrition, what we call rai, and the 12th house is fasting, sleeping. Fasting because when we're sleeping, we are fasting, we're resting our organs, we are recharging. So this pair, the 2 and the 12, they're working together for our sustenance and our rejuvenation. And 212 are called Vishnu sthanas because Narayan is the sustainer. This picture here is of Narayan, who is in the Lagna in the center. And Shri Devi or Lakshmi is in the second house, and Bhudevi or Saraswati is in the 12th house. So little about the Argala concept. Planets in the second house have Argala on the Lagna, meaning they can intervene in the matters of the Lagna. They have a say on the matters of the Lagna. And the planets in the 12th house, they oppose this intervention of the planets in the second house. This opposition is called Virodha Argala. And when there's equal number of planets in 212, that cause a bandhana or a bondage. Especially malefics give very difficult bandhana. Benefics, like for example, if there are benefics in the second house, it is a blessing of Shri. It's called a Shrimanta Yoga. But benefics can also give bandhana. It's just a Shubha bandhana. You know, when you are attached, you're enjoying and you're oblivious. 212 is a Drira bandhana, meaning it is very difficult to break through because it is food and sleep and everybody is attached to it. The second and the 12th is also the seat of the Agya Chakra, the third eye. This is the last one among the main chakras that is at the physical plane, at the level of the physical body. And beyond that, there are the higher chakras that are above the level of the physical plane. And these bandhanas are a ploy of the gods to keep us from rising to these higher chakras. So to sum up, this principle is stating that if there is a very negative attachment with food, then it should show up as malefics in the 2 and 12, causing Ashubha Bandhana. So now we're going to try to apply this in an example. This is Margot Hemingway, American model, actress, granddaughter of writer Ernest Hemingway. She was a supermodel in the 70s, and her later years were marred by highly publicized episodes of bulimia, addiction, and depression. So the first step we said is to look at the second house, the second lord, and the karaka of the second house. So here we see that the lord of the second house, Venus, has gone to the Badakstan and is Ashtangata and is in an exchange with Shani. Now, Shani is the Badaka in this chart because Shani is exalted and Rahu is debilitated. So second lord is in an exchange with the exalted and Digbala Badak. Badak being exalted in Digbala is not desirable. And we see that there is a Jupiter in the second house. Jupiter is also Karaka. This is very beautiful. Except Jupiter is Atmakaraka in this chart. Atmakaraka is the planet with the highest karma. So this indicates some soul level experiences in the second house. And Jupiter is also the dispositor of a debilitated Rahu. So Jupiter is Rahupati. Rahupati is quite evil in the chart. So now, is there a 212 bandhana? We see that there is a bandhana from the Pakalagna because the exalted Digbala Shani is in the 12th and the second has the debilitated Rahu. So we can conclude that as far as her application of intelligence is concerned, there could be serious negative attachment with food, affecting her sustenance and rejuvenation. Our next principle is Hora Lagna. Hora Lagna is one of the Vishesha Lagnas or special Lagnas. It is a calculated mathematical point. You know, in reality, the Earth is moving around the Sun in along the zodiac, which is elliptical, and the signs are of unequal sizes. Some signs are longer, some signs rise faster than the others. But the mind perceives in terms of cyclic time, circular motion, where all the signs are of same size. So Hora Lagna is the impression of the intellect in the matters of the second house. So this isn't reality, it's an impression. But in Jyotish, we know not to ignore impressions because this is the world of Maya and impressions can translate into reality. So to sum up, this principle is stating that if a native's concept or idea of food is distorted, that it should show up as afflictions to the Hora Lagna. So we will try to apply this in Margot Hemingway's chart. Here we see that the Hora Lagna is in the Lagna. There is a Shani Drishti, there is a Rahu Drishti. So that's two malefic drishtis on the Hora Lagna. And the Hora Lagna Lord has gone to the 8th house of struggles. And we have seen that it is in a Yama Bandhana. So we can also look at the Bhava Karaka of the house where the Hora Lagna is. In this case, the Hora Lagna is in the Lagna and the Bhava Karaka is Surya. And Sun has gone to the Badak Sthan. So we can conclude that this Hora Lagna is quite afflicted, and her concept or idea of food, her attitude towards food can have some distortion. Our next principle is Kemadruma Yoga. When there are malefics in the first, second, and eighth house, it forms a Kemadruma Yoga. And that can cause tremendous blockages in the intelligence, which is the first house, sustenance, which is the second house, and longevity, which is the eighth house. The 2-8 axis regulates consumption and elimination. So if you remember the session on Astiroga a few months back, it was mentioned that the second house is Pranavayu and the eighth house is Apanavayu. Prana is moving upward and inward, and it is strongly linked to food and sustenance, which is the second house. And Apana moves downward and outward, and that is strongly linked to the elimination processes, which is the eighth house. And this axis of 2-8 is a critical indication of this play of the prana and the apana. And in a condition like eating disorder, this axis should indicate some disharmony or imbalance. 2-8 are also the Rudrasthanas. So second house, if there are malefics in the second house, that can change it from a Vishnu sthana to a Rudrasthana. And malefics in this axis 2-8 can indicate Nija dosha from past karma, for which we have angered Rudradeva. Now, when there are malefics in the first, second, say just 2 among the 3 houses, then also there is a Kemadruma. So how strong the Kemadruma will depend on how many malefics are involved and how evil they are. We have to use our judgment. So to sum up, this principle is saying that if a native has eating disorder, it should show up in the form of a Kemadruma yoga, indicating tremendous blockages in the intelligence and this 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination. So we are going to try to locate the Kemadrumas in Margot Hemingway's chart. But before that, there's one more step. So here is her Rashi, her Navamsha, and her Shashtiyamsha. And the first step is to plot the swa points in her chart. Swa points are self points. So for example, this is her Lagna in Mesha, that is a swa point. Her Arudha Lagna is in Mithuna, that is a swa point. Her Paka Lagna is in Scorpio, that is a swa point. And her Karaka Lagna, which is the Atma Karaka in the Rashi chart, that is a swa point here in Vrishabha. And the Karakamsha in Cancer and the Karakamsha in Pisces, these are all her swa points. So we should be looking at Yama Bandhanas and Kemadrumas from all of these swa points. So let's see if she has a Kemadruma. So we see that there is a Kemadruma from the Paka Lagna because Mangal is a malefic in the first house. Rahu debilitated is a malefic in the second house, and the eighth house has a debilitated Ketu with Gulika and Mandi. These are poisonous upagrahas. So that's a complete Kemadruma. Then we see there is a Kemadruma from the Karaka Lagna because Jupiter we said is Rahupati. So there is some malefic in Jupiter. And the second 8 axis has the Rahu Ketu and the Gulika Mandi. And then we see that there is a Kemadruma from the Karakamsha in D60 because Ketu is a malefic in the second house and Sun is debilitated in the 8th house with Rahu. So, so how do we interpret Kemadrumas from, say, the Lagna versus a Karaka Lagna? So when there is a Kemadruma from the Lagna, the Paka Lagna, the Arudha Lagna, the Navamsha Lagna, these can all indicate temporary problems, like they can crop up with the onset of a dasha, when maybe our intelligence will fail and we'll get in some trouble. But we may be able to overcome it when the dasha changes. However, when the Kemadruma is from the Karakamsha in the D9 and D60 or the Karaka Lagna in the Rashi chart, these can be very deep problems at the soul level. It's destiny we cannot avoid, okay? And even if we are able to overcome them, it can just relapse on us and it just could be this lifelong struggle. And in this case of Margot Hemingway, we see that she has a Kemadruma from the Karakamsha in the Shashti Amsha and from the Karaka Lagna in the Rashi chart. So this is very deep soul level problems, you know. So here we see that she suffered from long-term bulimia, alcoholism, and epilepsy. She battled bulimia on and off since adolescence and had trouble keeping a stable weight. So if you remember the session on epilepsy in last year's Sharira conference, it was mentioned that very strong afflictions to Mangal and Jupiter can cause epilepsy. And here we have seen that both of these planets are suffering. So that would explain her epilepsy as well. So our fourth principle for today is Mrityu Bhava, or the root of the 8th house. So for this principle, we need to understand the difference between a house and the root of the house. A house or a bhava is where things manifest, where we are experiencing certain aspects of our life. And the root of the house, or the bhava, the seed of that house, is where we will get indications of the root cause of these experiences that we are having in the natural 8th house. So we're talking in the context of the 8th house. You know, 8th house is where we experience our struggles and our debts. And the root cause of the 8th house will be found in this root of Mrityu. And that will give indications of the struggles that we are experiencing, why we're experiencing these struggles. Okay, so there is a way to calculate the root of any bhava based on the Trinipada, the 3 steps of Sri Vishnu, and this is taught in much details in the tradition. We won't go into it, but it is all worked out for the for our purposes. You know, this is for the 8th house. It is also, you can find this in Guruji's Gemini Sutra book. So as an example, here Ali Lagna, Scorpio Lagna, the natural 8th house is Gemini. So Gemini is where we are going to experience our struggles, you know, our debts, maybe diseases, Nija dosha type diseases can manifest there. But Dhanu, which is the root of the 8th house, which is actually the 2nd house, Sagittarius, is where we can find the root cause of these struggles that we are experiencing in the 8th house. So how is this relevant to eating disorders? When we calculate the root of the 8th house, we find that there is a pattern of 2 and 8. Okay, that means that for any house, that the root of Mrityu will always fall in either the 2nd or the 8th from the concerned Rashi. Okay, and we have already established that the 2nd and the 8th are important for us in this context of eating disorders. Now, for some Rashis, it is counted in the reverse. So 2nd and 8th can fall in the 6th or the 12th house from the Lagna. So to sum up, this principle is stating that the root of the 8th house, when the root of the 8th house falls in the 2nd or 8th from the Lagna, we can deduce that the root cause of struggles is related to this 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination. Now, for the Rashis where the root of Mrityu will fall in the 6th or 12th, that does not satisfy our principle. Okay, but if the Lord of the root of Mrityu has a link to the 2nd or 8th, then we can still say that root cause of struggles can be linked to this 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination. So this is Margot Hemingway again, and here the house with the star indicates that this is the root of Mrityu. So here we see for Mesha Lagna, the natural 8th house and the root of the 8th house, they both map to Scorpio. Okay, so and it is in the 2-8 axis. So automatically we can say that yes, there will be profound struggles related to the 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination. And we see that, you know, the Paka Lagna has gone to this root of Mrityu, the Hor Lagna Lord has gone to this root of Mrityu, and we have seen, you know, there's a Yama Bandhana from it, there's a Kemadruma from it. Now, in this chart, the Lord of the root of Mrityu is Mercury, because this chart runs into an exception. And the exception is because the Lord of the root of Mrityu and the Lagna Lord, they cannot be the same. So we don't have time to go into details of the exception, but just know that Mercury is the Lord of the root of Mrityu in this case. And we see that Mercury is conjoined the 2nd Lord and the Bhavakaraka of the Hora Lagna. So Mercury is also very much involved in this 2-8 axis. And we can definitely conclude that root cause of her struggles will be related to this 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination. Our next principle is moon and the mind. So moon is also karaka for food, you know, and in that respect, we can say that moon is a secondary karaka of the 2nd house, because bhavas can have multiple karakas. Now, we have mentioned that depression is a common theme for eating disorders, and there are many combinations for mental health issues, which we're not going to go into today. For this presentation, we will just stick to examining how stable or unstable the moon is, because if there is a mental health issue, it should show up in the moon. So we are going to examine the moon in Margot Hemingway's chart. So we see that this moon is very bright. It's S14. And the moon is an own house, and the moon is Digbala. So that is a very beautiful moon. She is very beautiful. She is very famous. But if we look closely, this moon is in a Charakaraka displacement with Mercury. Moon is 21 degree 53 minutes, and Mercury is 21 degree 49 minutes. So they're both in the 22nd degree. When that happens, there is a Charakaraka displacement, which has multiple implications that we're not going to go into today. But just know that this moon and Mercury are in a turmoil. They're caught up in this tension, okay? And Mercury is the lord of the root of Mrityu. So then we go to the Navamsha and we examine the moon there. And we see that this moon is, in a Gajekeshri with an exalted Atmakaraka. That is very beautiful, and this means that she is going to have the good fortune of a lot of fame. Then we see that this moon is opposite its Swashetra. So when that happens, this moon is going to be very sad. It's going to be longing for home. And we see that this moon is in Nakra Amsha. Nakra is Capricorn. According to Jaimini Maharshi, Nakra Amsha can be linked to psychic disorders and disturbances from evil spirits. And we see that that is highly plausible in this chart because this moon is under a terrible Graha Kopa from 3 malefics preceding it. Mangal, Sun, and Rahu. Graha Kopa means that this house is going to get blocked or damaged, and the planets in the house is going to get blocked or damaged. And then we also see that there is a Papa Kartari of Saturn and Rahu. Saturn and Rahu is Shraddha, and that can also show evil spirits. So we can say that yes, it is possible that this native is going to suffer from depression and will have to fight the evil spirits that are tormenting her mind. So this is our last principle for today. This is a sutra from Maharishi Jaimini. Guruna Shofa Aruchi Vamanadhyai. So this sutra links Jupiter to lack of appetite, vomiting, and depression. And these are all symptoms of eating disorders. So when we examine the Jupiter for eating disorder, what we should be looking for is this Jupiter disposed to give a disease in this chart? Is this Jupiter getting very afflicted and getting involved in any of the other principles that we talked about, like a Kemadruma, like a Yamabandhana? Is the Jupiter then linking to the root of the 8th house? Is this Jupiter afflicted and influencing the moon or the Horolagna? If any of these show up in the chart, then yes, this Jupiter can give an eating disorder. Now, we have already studied the Jupiter in Margot Hemingway's chart, so we're going to jump to our next case study. This is Karen Carpenter, American musician, member of a popular brother-sister duo, the Carpenters. Her struggle and eventual death from anorexia would later raise awareness of eating disorders and body dysmorphia. So in last year's Sharira conference, there was a session on plastic surgery where it was mentioned that afflictions to the Rajas Grahas, Mercury, Venus, can cause distorted body image. We won't cover it today, but I wanted to mention that it is a very important point with relation to eating disorders. And I was able to confirm that in my research as well. So we're going to go step by step for this chart. All her swap points are already plotted and they're marked with this orange square. Now, first we're going to look at the second house. The second house has a S14, very bright moon in own house, and it's in a Gajekeshri. So yes, she's going to be famous. But if we look closely, we see that this moon and this house, this second house, is under a terrible Grahakopa from 3 terrible malefics. Because Mangal is here no ordinary malefic. Mangal is Drikshunya. So Mangal is going to punish her. And this Ketu is MKS, and Mangal conjoining an MKS planet is going to carry the evils of this MKS planet. So this house is getting blocked or damaged. There's a Grahakopa from 3 malefics. So yes, we can see this moon is very troubled. So is there a Yama Bandhana? We see that there is one, because the 12th house has Mandi and Gulika, the poisonous upagrahas, and then the second house is blocked or damaged. So that's a Yama Bandhana, and we can say that this native can develop negative attachments with food. Then we look at the Hora Lagna. The Hora Lagna has Shani. Now, Shani is not conducive to Hora Lagna because Shani is cold food, stale food, I don't know, fasting, poverty. So, and this Shani is in a Pitri dosha exchange with Sun. Okay, so that's afflictions to the Hora Lagna. So we can say that yes, her concept of or idea of food can be distorted. Then we see if there is a Kemadruma. We see that there is a Kemadruma from the Arudha Lagna. We see that there is a Kemadruma from the Karaka Lagna. Here, Mercury is Atmakaraka, so Capricorn is the Karaka Lagna. And Jupiter is a malefic here because Jupiter is Badak in this chart. And this is also the house with the star, indicating that this is the root of Mrityu. So that makes it a malefic house. And also, there is a Grahakopa from Rahu and Sun, following. So that is also blocking and damaging this house. So we can say that, yes, there are malefics in the first house. The second and eighth has the Sun and Saturn. There is also another Kemadruma from the Karakamsha in the Navamsha, because Shani is exalted retro in the second house. Exalted retro means it is going towards stability. It is Nicha Abhilashi. And the eighth house has a Venus, and this Venus is in exchange with Mangal. So Mangal is seventh in the Vara Chakra from Venus. Mangal is Maraka to Venus. And this is also a Agni and Jala Gandhanta exchange. And, it is bringing this Pisacha also with this exchange. So that is a terrible Kemadruma, and this Kemadruma is from the Karakamsha, from the Karaka Lagna. So this is going to be very difficult, very deep soul level problems that she may not be able to overcome. We've already talked about the moon, we've already talked about the Jupiter. So with that, we're gonna try to time her anorexia using the Naisargika Bhava Dasha. So this is a natural dasha system which is taught in the tradition, so we won't go into the details here, but this is all worked out in this table. This is saying that from 0 to 9 years of age, she was running the dasha of Kanya. This is 9 years, this is the 4th house, and this dasha is progressing from the 4th to the 2nd to the 8th to the 10th. So she was chubby as a teenager, wanted to lose some weight after high school. Problem started when she did not stop after losing 20 pounds. So after high school is 18 years of age. So this is the Nakra Dasha, this is Capricorn. And we see that Nakra is the house with the star. Okay, so this is the root of Mrityu in the 8th house. So automatically we can say that root cause of struggles is related to the axis of consumption and elimination. And we have seen the Kemadruma from this Karaka Lagna, right? So we can say, yes, during this time, there will be blockages in her intelligence and this axis of consumption and elimination. And Jupiter is becoming Badaka. Jupiter is going to this root of Mrityu. So Jupiter is, very much disposed to give disease in this chart. And what kind of diseases can it give? It can give loss of appetite. It can give depression. It's also influencing the moon. So that explains why she might have a disease like a eating disorder during this time. So anorexia continued in the next dasha, which is Meena. Okay, this is the 10th house. And we see that Rahu is placed here and the lords are Jupiter and Ketu. So we see that all of these 3 planets are involved in the Kemadrumas that we have just seen. Okay, so all of these planets are taking part in Kemadrumas. That means that during this dasha, her blockages in her intelligence and the axis of consumption elimination is going to continue. And, Jupiter is a dasha rashi lord, and we've already talked about Jupiter in this case giving, a disease like anorexia. So, all that is going to continue during this dasha. Now, she died at 32 from cardiac arrest. So this is at the end of this dasha, she died. Okay, so This house, 10th house, is an important longevity house. The first, 8th, and 10th, they're energy centers. And we see that, this Rahu is in a Kuja Stambhana because it is 1/7 from Mangal. Okay, and this is a Pisacha in the 4th house. So yes, this Rahu is also exchanging with Ketu. This is intensifying this Kuja Stambhana. Okay, so yes, this is the 410 axis. The 4th house is heart. She died of cardiac arrest. And, this 10th house could not support her longevity because of all this malefic association. There's a Kemadruma and all of that. And we see that this MK is Ketu in the 4th house. She was being nourished by a feeding tube which accidentally punctured one of her lungs. The Ketu is a mistake. She died from complications of this. Now, if we consider the Sudarshana Chakra Dasha, we will see that she died in the Chakra Dasha of 311. 311 is Simha, Mesha. So Simha is where Shani is. This is the Hora Lagna. So when there is a Kuja Stambhana in the chart, the 5th from Mangal is Shani, and Shani is going to get transferred some of these killing powers. So it makes sense that this dasha might kill her. And the Antar is of Mesha, and the Lord Mangal is participating in the Kuja Stambhana, in the Pisacha, in the Kemadruma. So yes, it makes sense that she, this dasha is going to be fatal for her. So this is our next case study, Solène Poivre. She was from a French noted family, daughter of TV news journalist Patrick Poivre. She suffered from anorexia so severe that she was called the Somalian. Could not cope with the demons that tormented her, threw herself on the train tracks at a subway station, killing herself at 19 years of age. So in the interest of time, for the next few charts, we have 3 examples, including this one. We will not go step by step. We will just look at the dashas and we will talk about the relevant principles. But this table here has everything listed step by step for our reference. So she was 16 when anorexia nervosa started. So this is the dasha of Vrishabha. Vrishabha is the Taurus. So we see that this is the house with the star indicating that this is the root of Mrityu for Tula Lagna. Again, the natural 8th house and the root of Mrityu map to the same house, Taurus. Okay, and so the root of Mrityu being in the 8th house, automatically we can say that during this time, root cause of struggles will be related to this axis of consumption and elimination. We see that the Dasha Rashi Lord Venus is participating in a Yama Bandhana. So here we see that Sun is her Atmakaraka. So her Karaka Lagna is in Scorpio. And the 12th from it is Rahu with Gulika, that's malefics. And the Dasha Rashi Lord has conjoined this Rahu and Gulika. And then in the 2nd house, there is a Mercury. And usually we won't consider Mercury to be a malefic unless it is conjoined malefic planets. But in this case, Mercury is Ashtangata. Even though Sun and Mercury are in different signs, Mercury is very close to Sun. And Mercury is in Mula Gandanta. And Mercury is in a Charakaraka displacement with Mangal, so it's caught up in a turmoil. And Mercury is also, suffering from a Grahakopa from Rahu and Sun. So this house is getting blocked or damaged. So yes, we can say that that is a Yama Bandhana. And during this dasha, there will be negative attachment with food. Now, the other lord of Vrishabha is Moon. Okay, and Moon is the lord of the Hora Lagna, gone to Adusthana, 6th house. And the Moon is in a Rashi Sandhi, 0 degree 28 minutes. So we can say that during this time, her concept of food will be very distorted because Moon is the lord of the Hora Lagna. And the Moon has conjoined Jupiter, who is the 6th lord. So Jupiter is very much disposed to give a disease. This is the house of Roga, the 6th house. So, and what can the disease be? The disease can be eating disorder, lack of appetite. The disease can be depression. And this house is also suffering from a Papa Kartari. This is a Pisacha Papa Kartari. And there is a Grahakopa from Shani and Mangal. That is a Yama manifesting. So yes, this house is very much suffering. So she died within 3 years of this dasha. She committed suicide. So her suicide note to her dad said, "Thanks for everything, but I don't like life. I want to be cremated and kept in a small box, but not thrown into the sea." So we see this moon here in this Rashi Sandhi, 0 degree 28 minutes off, between Aquarius and Pisces. Aquarius is this small pot or the small box that she wants to stay in. She does not want to be thrown into the sea of Meena. So you see the dilemma of this moon. And also this Lagna is in the 12th from the Atmakaraka. 12th from Atmakaraka is a very important sign for bondage and freedom. And when the Lagna comes here, the person may feel that, their body is a bondage, that life is a bondage. So you can see what she was going through with this moon and this Lagna and why she had to take her life. And if you remember the principles for suicide in last year's Sharira conference, all of those apply to this chart. Okay, so next example is Princess Diana. Princess Diana was very open about her bulimia and mental health issues. So we're going to examine her chart. Diana had first symptoms of bulimia since the mid-70s. So this could very well be when she was 15 or 16, and that's going to be the Tula Dasha. So we see that this is the natural second house, and we notice see the second and the 12th as a pair. And we see here that there is a Kujastambhana Sarpashrapa thing going on in this 12th house. Now, when the Virodha Argala is very strong or stronger from malefics, and there is a weak Argala or no Argala, that can also be a very difficult bandhana. And we see that her Atmakaraka is moon, and in the Shashti Amsha, there is a Yama bandhana from the Atmakaraka. This from the Karakamsha in the Shashti Amsha, there is a Yama bandhana. And if we use Amsha Tulya Rashi, we can say that this Yama bandhana is happening in the Lagna Amsha. Okay, and that is intensifying this Yama bandhana that is already present in her Rashi chart. So we can say that yes, she possibly can develop, this negative attachment with food during this time. Now, the lord of this Dasha Rashi is Venus, and we see that Venus is an own sign. It's in the 9th house. That is very nice. However, this Venus is also in a Rashi Sandhi, 0 degree 51 minutes. Now, Diana's sister Sarah was anorexic, and Diana idolized her. So this, Venus can show a sister, and this can possibly show that, her sister is the one who is driving her down this path to bulimia. Now, this was the very beginning. So she really struggled with bulimia after getting engaged to Charles in the Naisargika Bhavadasha of Mesha. This is when she was 19. So this is Mesha. Mesha here has the Hora Lagna, okay? And we see that the Hora Lagna Lord is, is in this Sarpa Shrapa Kujastambhana thing going on with the Hora Lagna Lord. So we can say that, yes, during this time, her concept of food can be very distorted. This Dasha Rashi Lord Mangal is also taking part in a Yama Bandhana that we just discussed. Okay, so yes, during this Dasha, negative attachment with food will continue. And this Dasha Rashi Lord Mangal is also involved in a Kemadruma. Okay, this is the Kemadruma. So because her moon is her Atmakaraka, so this is Capricorn is a swa point. Capricorn is the Karaka Lagna. So we can say that there is a Kemadruma from the Karaka Lagna because Jupiter is Badak in this chart and Shani is Shani. And the second house has a Ketu who is an Ayush stability, and the 8th house has this Sarpa Shrapa thing going. So that is a Kemadruma, and that the Dasha Rashi Lord is participating in. So we can say that yes, during this time there will be tremendous blockages in her intelligence, and this access of food and sustenance and elimination, access of consumption and elimination. Now, this is also the time when she became a princess and a royal. So we see that this Hora Lagna is an Agni sign, and Agni is very conducive to Hora Lagna. So there will be a lot of food, there will be a lot of wealth, there will be a lot of resources. There's no shortage of that. And this Hora Lagna Lord is also conjoined one of our Lagna Lords, Rahu, right? So when that happens, the person will have access to a lot of resources, to a lot of wealth, a lot of food. The problem is not that. The problem is her, distorted concept. The problem is the negative attachment. The problem is the blockages. So we should be able to see that. Now, her battle with bulimia continued through the next dasha of Mithuna. So this is her Paka Lagna as well, because Mercury is the stronger Lagna lord. So we see that there is a Kemadruma from Mithuna, because the first house has Gulika Mandi Sun, Mercury is Ashtangata, the second house doesn't have any planets, but there is a Papa Kaktari, and the eighth house has the Jupiter, who is Padak and Shani. So we can say that yes, during this time, the blockages in her intelligence and the 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination is going to continue. Now, Diana has talked about bulimia being her escape mechanism, her escape from the pressures of public life. So we can see that this Mercury is Lagna Lord and 10th Lord in the 10th house. That is a huge Siddhi Yoga. There's an Indra Yoga, Sun, Mercury together, and this is in this Arudha axis. So during this time, she was immensely popular, she held very high position, and she had huge achievements as an activist. This is what was happening externally. But internally, she was getting bogged down by the pressures of it. She felt inadequate the whole time, and she was resorting to this emotional eating. So here she is describing her bulimia like having a pair of arms around you. That's like bulimia is hugging her. That's emotional eating. Okay. And she had to purge because she couldn't afford to gain weight, because of her image as a style icon. And she was constantly being photographed. So that is a lot of pressure. Now, Diana has spoken openly about her mental health issues, and we said that we're going to examine the moon for mental health issues. So here we see that moon is her Atmakaraka, and moon is involved in both the Kemadrumas in her chart. Okay, so, and then this moon is conjoined Shani. Now, Shani is the lord of the root of Mrityu. The house with the star in this chart is in Kumbha. So here we see that for Kanya Lagna, the Mrityu root is in the 6th house. So that does not satisfy our principle. We said that Mrityu root needs to be in the 2-8 axis for us to say that root cause of struggles is going to be in this axis of consumption and elimination. However, we see that the lord of the root of Mrityu, Shani, is participating in both the Kemadrumas of the 2-8 axis. So yes, root of Mrityu is very much involved in this 2-8 axis, and we can still say that the root cause of struggles will be associated with this 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination. Now, Shani being, a tamas planet and the root of Mrityu, afflicting this moon, tamas can bring depression. So this Shani is going to give her depression and shyness and things like that. And this Jupiter is Badak, so Jupiter is very much disposed to give a disease in this chart. And what kind of disease can Jupiter give? Vomiting, and depression. So we see that, yes, this person can have depression. And Jupiter is, Badak, debilitated retro, that is Ucha Abhilashi. Ucha Abhilashi Badak, again, not good. And in the Navamsha, we see that this moon, Atmakaraka, is in an exchange with Rahu. Now, Rahu and moon is a battle, and this is Atmakaraka. So there is a soul level battle going on. And in the Shashti Amsha, we've already seen that moon is in a Yama Bandhana. So yes, this moon can give, depression. But we should not be missing out on the blessings that are coming from this moon as well, This moon is her Atmakaraka. She is Chaturthi born. Chaturthi is a very bright moon, okay? And Chaturthi, for Chaturthi, if you remember the Tithi lessons, the recent ones, moon is the lord of the Tithi Rashi, becoming Atmakaraka and joining the Tithi Bhava lord. Jupiter is the 4th lord. In a Gajakeshari, in a Brahma Yoga. Brahma Yoga is someone with a mission. Okay, so this is a huge blessing coming from the Tithi in the 5th house of following. And you can see this is also Srimanta Yoga because Shani is an own sign and there's 2 benefics in the second from Arudha. And in the Navamsha, moon has gone to the Navamsha Lagna. Atmakaraka and Navamsha Lagna, very, very huge Raj Yoga. So she was the people's princess. Everybody loved her because she was very relatable. That's the moon. Moon is giving her all of that. And for a celebrity, if a node touches a swa point like a Karakamsha, that can give a lot of, like an electrifying presence. And she was one of the most popular royals. She was she was hounded by paparazzi. And when she walked with Charles, her husband, everybody wanted to just see her. So we see the blessings of the moon. We can see the dichotomy of her internal and external experiences, and how one was undermining the other and leading her down this path to bulimia and mental health diseases, culminating in her ultimate death. So we see that she died in this Simha Dasha when the Dasha came to this Sarpa Shrapa. She died. She also died in the Sudarshana of Chakra Dasha of 4-4. 4-4 is Dhanu, and the Lord Jupiter is Badak, conjoined the Lord of Mrityu, and Shani again is getting killing powers because Mangal, there's a Kujastambhana in this chart. Shani is 5th in the Vara Chakra. And 4th house can show vehicles. She died in an accident. So this is our last example, and we're going to go really quickly. So this is British singer-songwriter Amy Winehouse. According to her brother, problems with bulimia started in her late teens. So again, it could be as young as 15, 16, 17. This is Mithuna Dasha. So Mithuna here is the house with the star. Okay, so this is indicating that this is the root of Mrityu in the 2nd house. So automatically we can say, yes, during this Dasha, the root cause of struggles is going to be in this axis of consumption and elimination. And we see that this Dasha Rashi is suffering from a Papakartari and a Grahakopa. So this house is getting blocked or damaged. And the Lord Mercury is participating in a Kemadruma. So this is the Kemadruma that the Lord is participating in. So Venus is her Atmakaraka. So this is a swap point. The Venus is also her Lagna Lord. So this is Paka Lagna, this is Karaka Lagna, and there is a Kemadruma from it. Mangal Venus. In the 1st house, Gulika Mandi Sun, and the 8th house is a malefic sign. So we can say that during this time, there will be blockages in her intelligence and this 2-8 axis of consumption and elimination. So bulimia peaked in the Dasha of Dhanu, which has this Chandra Ashtama, Chandra MKS, and there is also a Grahakopa on this house from Saturn and Ketu. So this house and the moon in it is getting blocked or damaged. And this is also Hora Lagna. So we can say that during this time, her concept of food will be very distorted. And there is a Kemadruma from it because this is also the Paka Lagna. This is a swap point. Moon is also another lord of Vrishabha. So, there is a malefic, we can say this is a malefic house, because of the Grahakopa, MKS moon, and the 2nd is a malefic sign, and the 8th has the terrible Mangal Venus yoga. So that's a Kemadruma, and we can say that, yes, during this time, blockages in her intelligence and the 2-8 axis of consumption elimination will continue. Now, Jupiter is the lord of this house, and Jupiter, is the 8th lord, and Jupiter is very much disposed to give a disease here. Also, if you remember PJC1, the 2nd from the 8th lord is where we pay the health tax. Okay, so Jupiter is disposed to give a disease, and if so, what kind of disease can it give? It can give depression, vomiting, so bulimia. Now, this is also the time when she had manic depression and cocaine, alcohol addiction. So if we consider Moon to be the Lagna Lord, her alternate Arudha Lagna is in Cancer. And then this house is becoming the 6th from Arudha Lagna. And 6th from Arudha Lagna is a very tamasic sign. And if there is a Shani influence on the 6th from Arudha Lagna, that can show addictions and depression. And we see that, this is exalted Badak Shani and has a Purna 3rd Drishti on this house, Tanu. And also if we use Amshatulya Rashi, we can bring back, this Pitridosha effect on this house. There's Amavasya effect on this house. So all this eclipse and Pitridosha, all of this can, give this addiction, cocaine addiction and depression and all of that. So now this is also the time when she received 5 Grammy Awards for her album Back to Black and became an international sensation. Now again, the Hora Lagna Lord is with the Agni planet in own sign, and the Lagna Lord has gone to the Hora Lagna. So no problem with access to resources, food, and wealth. All that is there. The problem is not that. The problem is with the concept of food. The problem is with the blockages in the intelligence and the depression and all of that. Okay. So we can see that we can make out that difference. And also there are many other indications of her success during this time, which is a little off topic for us, but I will mention one thing, that this Jupiter is Kevala Mahayogada in this chart, okay? And when that happens, this Jupiter is coming from the Shuddha Amrita Chakra. It is acting at the level of the Shuddha Amrita Chakra. So she was able to create her masterpiece during this time and touch the heart of multitudes. But this inspiration that is coming from through Jupiter from the Shuddha Amrita Chakra is all about this eighth house, because Jupiter is the eighth lord. Her album is just, all about this eighth house. It's about breakup, and it's about addictions, rehab, and even the title song "Back to Black," it's shot in a scene of a funeral where the husband has died, the spouse has died. So that you can see that. Okay, so Amy was found dead at the age of 27. Now, there is a slight controversy surrounding Amy's death. Her family has claimed the entire time that Amy died from bulimia, but reports say that she died of possible accidental alcohol poisoning, because they found a lot of empty alcohol bottles at the scene of death, and also her blood alcohol levels were higher than what's allowed for driving. Now, this Jaimini Sutra that we have learned earlier, Guru Nashofa Aruchi Vamanatye, now this is in the context of finding the circumstances of death in the third from the third from the Arudha Lagna has Jupiter. So yes, very well, it's possible that she died from bulimia. Symptoms, the circumstances of death might have been vomiting, depression, lack of appetite, etc. However, to keep the controversy alive, we can consider Moon as a Lagna Lord, and then her alternate Arudha is going to be in Cancer. And that means that the third from Arudha is going to be in Kanya Rashi. And Kanya Rashi here has a Papa Katari of exalted Badak Shani that can show alcohol, and Gulika Mandi that can show poison. So yes, very well possible that she died of alcohol poisoning. So we need to investigate, which Arudha Lagna was active during the time of death to resolve this mystery. I think it is alcohol poisoning, because she also was found dead in her own bed. And if Jupiter is in the fifth from Arudha Lagna, that can show that someone died in their own bed. So we will take a minute to talk about some remedies. So if the problem is Yama Bandhana, like there are malefics in 212, then Sri Vishnu is the way out, because these are Vishnu Sthana. If the problem is Kemadruma, then Rudra Deva is the way out. We can do Rudra Abhishek with milk, because the second eight axis is this exaltation and debilitation of moon. And a benefic in a Yama Bandhana or a Kemadruma, like if there's a benefic in a Yama Bandhana or a Kemadruma, we can propitiate the Adi Devata of that benefic Graha. Now, if that benefic is afflicted, then we might as well go to the Pratyadi Devata. If moon is the problem, if depression is the problem, or any kind of Unmadana problems, Dattatreya Hare Krishna is the remedy. And any problems with the root of Mrityu, we can chant this mantra, Namo Rudraya Vishnave Mrityorme Pahi. We can also do the, when we do our daily Abhishek, we can chant the 8th stanza of the Sri Rudram. We can perhaps chant it 8 times. Okay, so with that, I will end my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Shashwati. That was a very, very beautifully presented case studies. Now we'll begin with the questions. In Amy's chart, how Chandrashtama and MKS Chandra dosha would be applicable for Taurus Lagna? Taurus and Dhanu is an exception for Chandrashtama, is my understanding. Could you please clarify?
I don't know about that. That could very well be possible, and that could be then modifying the results a little bit. Yes.
Okay. The next question. When the fourth Lord Rahu sits in 10th house Leo, where Hora Lagna is placed, and in second house, that is in the Jupiter Atmakaraka sign, Saturn 0 degrees and Mercury are placed, there is possibility of this negative disturbance with food, which is in this case the remedy.
I am sorry, I did not follow it. Can you please repeat? Let me write it down.
Sure. when the fourth Lord Rahu sits in the 10th house,
Okay.
that's Leo,
Yeah.
where Horolagna is placed,
Okay.
and in second house, in the Jupiter Atmakaraka sign, Saturn 0 degrees and Mercury are placed, there is possibility of this negative disturbance with food, which in case is the remedy. She's asking for a remedy.
So the remedy can be the Horolagna Rahu, right? We can say that there's a Rahu placed in Horolagna. So what would be a remedy for the Horolagna? So we can look at the Bhavakaraka of the Horolagna and remedy that planet, because Bhavakaraka is the hand of God, so we can go to that planet, the Adi or Pratyadi Devata.
Thank you. Thank you, Shashwati. Actually, it's very difficult to analyze a chart just with one or two planetary placements. Only when you have the complete grahas and everything, then it'll, because each and every graha modifies the result.
Correct.
So only when you have the whole chart, you're able to analyze and give a solution for it. Thank you very much, Shashwati. Now I pass on the floor to Sarbani ji. Sarbani ji has an important announcement to make.
No, I don't have any important announcement to make. I just wanted to thank all the speakers and say that it has been absolutely a wonderful day, and we have great presentations, starting with Karthik Srinivasan, and then Jelko Krigovich. Natalia was outstanding, and Shashwati, you were absolutely brilliant. Who would say you're just your second year PJC, if I'm not mistaken, but you're a genuine student, and that shows up. Very, very well prepared and researched, all of you. So I really want to thank you, and I think all your batchmates have been listening. I've been looking at the attendees, and they are generally all your batchmates. So they're all listening to you very carefully. And thank you for holding the flag of the Parampara high. And we look forward to further more presentations in the next 2 days to come. Before I sign off, I would just want to share this picture with you. Is it, hopefully it's visible. This is about the conference that we are having in December. That is the actual physical Sri Jagannath Center conference. And as you know, we are continuing with Sharira, the astrological body, since this is, Jupiter is in Pisces. And we do have an option where, we wanted to actually have it in Puri, but Surya being in Scorpio in Margashira Masa, the wedding season is absolutely goes ballistic. So from mid-November to mid-December, Puri is a very high wedding destination zone. We can't get any hotels over there, and we somehow managed to get this hotel, which is 5-star, hence more expensive, as many of you pointed it out to us, but it's a very well-known place, very well-known venue. And we could not hold it after the 15th because there are some contact classes which have been planned for the Gemini students. So as a result, this year we had it at this time, and hopefully next year we should try to do it either right after 15 December, because December seems to be our chosen month. So please, those of you who have not yet made your bookings but would like to make the booking, please go ahead. If you have any queries, there is one email ID that you need to know, that is sjcorganizers@gmail.com, and you've already met our you've met all our SJC conference organizing committee. They've been helping you in announcing you and holding the days together, both for the May session as well as for the August session. So there is Jyoti, Ritu, Niti, Bhargavi, all right. and they will help you through with this. So any queries you need, just email sjcorganizers@gmail.com. Okay, and if you can, try and come 10th, 11th, and 12th of December. And so thank you very much. I'm going to wind up for today. And we hope to see you tomorrow. Do log in at 3 p.m. IST for another session of excellent research and presentations. Om Namo Bhagavate Jagannatha.